Won't be with you too long, as it is 8:39 this morning. But I will say, the other day we had a pretty good conversation as it relates to um, Nash County. Nash County what? Nash County's budget process and some of the things that they were talking about. And so we did discuss. Well, I guess not discuss, but we shared a video. I do want to say also that Jay Lyons, who Edgecombe County resident firefighter, was on a vacation and lost his life. We certainly keep the family of Mr. Lyons in our hearts for sure. Young individual who is no longer with us. I think he had two children as well. But again, we do keep his family in our hearts at a time of their loss, and all those who are family circle has been broken during this time or most recent time. You continue to also be in my prayers. Today is the Rocky Mount City Council meeting, and so we do want to talk about that real quick. Trying to do multiple things at one time. I do want to pull up the video from the first budget meeting, as well as now I'm looking for the agenda for today's meeting as well. That might have been modified. No, I don't think it's modified. Thank you. I don't know. But let me see here. The old council minutes. TV 19. Today's agenda. City council meets at 7 p.m. today. So be mindful of that. Not need that. And they have a committee of whole at I think it's at 4 instead of 5. I forgot what the notice was. 5-9. 5-9 seems to ring a bell, but I'm not. No. It don't ring a bell. Okay. Looking here for the committee meeting that we aired. Okay, here we go. Special budget work, there it is right there. All right. Just 11 days ago. Wow, time be it's like be moving faster than what it is. I guess that's flying, right? I guess that's flying. So today's meeting, of course, they're going to be talking about the Juneteenth event that's happening on June the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Of course, Juneteenth is June 19th, and so most organizations will be closed on Juneteenth as you celebrate and commemorate the freedom of African Americans in America, with Galveston, Texas being fully notified that slavery is against the law in this land of freedom. On today's agenda, can we make this bigger? Bigger. And now I go full screen to that size. Nope. Don't know why. Okay. I was gonna try to put it on the screen for you, but it won't let me be great. Won't let me be great. Can do it like that. It's about as big as I can get it. Right now. Okay, so the meeting's at 7 p.m. It's June the 9th today in Rocky Mount City Council chambers. Of course, you got the live stream link there. I do like the City Council agenda where it's hyperlinked, so those things that you see in the blue, you're able to click on those and see what is going on there. You're going to have the call to order by the mayor, the prayer, the roll call by the clerk, considerations. You got the consideration of minutes for the regular scheduled committee of whole meeting on January 13th, 2025. The sanitary sewer overflow part one, Brenton Bent, the director of public works, and Ken O'Reed, PE, the utility practice area land. A lot of stuff is information only. Of course, no action is taken in committee as a whole at any rate. And so you see a number of those dealing with housing programs, the NCLM legislative goals, also the retreat planning and the closed session. Then the minutes from the regular scheduled city council meeting held on March 25th, 2025. Then you have the considerations for additions and deletions to the agenda. And then the community update by City Manager Elton Daniel. Then you have the special recognitions, the recognition of Jonathan Avent and Kamaya Battle Preston, the 2025 recipients of the Curtis Dew Jr. Scholarship awarded by the City of Rocky Mounts Commission on Persons with Disability. Then a presentation of a plaque for the Historic Edgemont Community Association in collaboration with their fellow City of Rocky Mount Neighborhood Associations to Peter Varney recognizes exceptional commitment to Rocky Mount's oldest and historic neighborhoods. Then there's a petition held by the public. You have the consent agenda. Then you have the, this is all the consent agenda actually. The consideration request for public works for an ordinance approving temporary street closures for downtown development on July the 4th. You have consideration of resolution declaring the City of Rocky, we'll just say City of Rocky Mall, it's not there. Declaring the city's official intent to reimburse expenditures made for replacement of equipment required in connection with fiscal year 2026 installment financing for $699,000 to Imperial Chillers. You got a consideration pyrotech permit request for the following Independence Day celebration at City Rocky Mount Sports Complex and Rise Church on Bishop Road. Consideration of water assessment contract with David Lee and Sherry Young for water service at 18676 Singletree Lane in Rocky Mount. Consideration resolution supporting acceptance of the lowest construction bid for STIP project. And consideration for the fiscal year 2025 certification and assurance is required by the Federal Transit Administration for transit grants. Notification to the council to intent to request for authorization to apply for North Carolina Science Museum grant program for lease and travel exhibits at the Imperial Center. Consideration of Second Amendment for the Holliston purchase option. Now that is interesting. So that's going from an additional 60 days to a total of 210 days. Consideration of certification for the city clerk for sufficiency of petition submitted for annexation 336 Morningstar Road, contingent scheduling public hearing for July the 14th. Consideration recommend approval of award the duty badge sidearm for Sergeant Richard Rogers, 30 years of dedicated service. Consideration of sale of city-owned property at 811 815 Hammond Street. Then you have the consideration resolution authorizing lease agreement with Atlantic Coast Line and Seaboard Air Line Railroad Historic Society. And of course, that's at the train station. You have another for the Greyhound, another for Natarl and Bess. In the Douglas Block, consideration for pre-application documents for the 2025 Community Transportation Program grant application. You have consideration of bids there for a 1.5 megawatt generator and a purchase of a 50-foot fully hydraulic derrick rear mount. And then you have a public hearing for the budget for the 2025-2026 year. So those who are going to talk about the budget tonight, that's happening tonight. Consideration of recommendation from the planning board meeting from the May the 13th, 2025, and recognize the acknowledgement of the planning board minutes. And then you have a public hearing relative to rezoning request recommended for final compliance with comprehensive plan. This is no, it's not downtown. This is our Raleigh Road. Okay, request by Mr. George Burf there to do some rezoning from residential multifamily to B2 commercial. Then you have the consideration of a purchase agreement with the estate of Mildred Bowder for a property located at 326 Albemarle Avenue. Then you have the consideration resolution exercise the powers of eminent domain to acquire certain interests in the following real property, authorize acquisition by combination. That's at 106 East Holly Street, 336 Albemarle Avenue, 336 Northeast Main, 203 Southeast Main, 302 East Thomas, and a resolution exercising the power of eminent domain to acquire certain assets of the following real properties authorized acquisition by condemnation, and that's at 103 Atlantic Avenue and 11 Atlantic Avenue. The recommended action is to adopt the resolution. And item 14 is consideration of council and the committee of whole meeting scheduled for August the 11th, 2025 at 5 p.m. and the city council meeting scheduled for August the 11th at 7 p.m. due to a conflict with the Electric Cities Conference. And so the recommended action is to approve all cancellations of that particular meeting. Something that is new and different that we haven't seen in quite I don't think I've seen it in my, well, maybe I just don't remember. But anyway, that one there, the exercise and the power of eminent domain for the city to take possessions of some real property. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sites. And all are mostly in the downtown area with the exception of Holly Street. Not sure how that one got in there. But nevertheless, that is one thing that the city council will be voting on tonight. Eminent domain for those said and listed items or properties that you see there on the screen. So, yeah, we'll see how the city budget process goes on tonight. That's city county commissioners. And I want to move down to get away from the thing there. Let a little ad play on YouTube. I want to say good morning to Gloria Brake, Lorraine Pitts, James Bullock, Andre Smiley, Allison Williams, Gwendolyn Swain, Irma Maxwell, and Deborah Gunter. Thank you all for tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now. And what I want to do is walk down memory lane here. Yeah, so this is what I want to talk about. Real quick, and we shared this on the screen the other day, but I want to remind you that as tonight is the budget process, and it's this screen here. This was the original budget proposed by our city manager Elton Daniel, and what it showed was a budget proposal with the general fund dealing with $95,385,470. And it reduced the budget by about 4% in the general fund, nearly $4 million. However, when we talked about this has growth in the current revenues. Ad valorem tax at $2.6 million, vehicle tax at $500,000, local option tax at $150,000, other taxes at $384,000, and environmental services fee at $738,000 with total current revenues an increase of about $3.5 million. This is with the city doing absolutely nothing, right? No changes to the property taxes. This is where they anticipate new revenues to increase by the growth in the current revenues. I thought that was on pause to go there, but again, $3.5 million is the real number, right? Which is, and I refer to that, and I don't know what the proper name of it is. I just call it organic growth, that the communities grow organically without really doing much. Well, I can say doing much, but it's really seeing the economic development activity happen in communities. You see online of new residential properties or new commercial properties, perhaps properties that were offline and now online because some investor comes and say, hey, I want to start working on this, that, or the third. So you see those things happening. And again, this city says with that, you're talking about a $3.5 million increase. And again, the original budget proposed by the city manager did not have an increase to the property tax rate. And now we want to take you to the most updated information or relative to the meeting, budget rather. Again, public comment is tonight at 7 p.m. And the most updated version of this, let me get it, let me see if this one will work this way. It will. And I can move it perfectly. But wait, is this what I'm looking for? This one. All right, perfect. So this one is the revised public budget information here. And what this shows is that number that we just talked about, or I just shared with you a few moments ago, that $95 million, which is seen right there, $95,385,470. And then and this I like, this is pretty cool. It shows you a dollar bill that kind of breaks down a percentage as to what what and where the money is going. You know what I was gonna say, what sound pretty cool out there. I forgot what word I was gonna use. But anyway, the original general fund proposal was $95 million. The city manager, through his work and staff, were able to find an additional $939,000 in cuts to programming and outside agencies. So I found a few more dollars to deal with that. But then he came back and said, well, not he, but the council kind of said, hey, we want to still do about $1 million in merit pay to city employees and a $600,000 COLA, I think, that would take place in January, and then have about a $1,014,000 for fund balance reserve or capital improvements, which would then bring the revised general fund proposed to $97,860,000, which would the revenue changes, a 4-cent tax adjustment would bring roughly $2.4 million into the city, and it would also maintain the municipal service district of $75,000 as well, with the revised general fund proposal at $97 million. So if we go back to what the organic growth was, remember that number was $3.5 million, which I'm calling organic growth, or whatever the proper name of that is. Anticipated growth. We just call it anticipated growth that they plan to see. But that's $3.5 million, right? Then we look at the property tax increase of another $2.4 million. You're talking about $6 million in new anticipated revenue to the city of Rocky Mount, that's with 100% tax collection, right? And I think they're at about 98%, which is still good. Again, I guess everybody want to be at 100%, but not everybody can make 100 on exams. All right. And so it says the critical elements of the new proposed budget would put at least $1.5 million back into fund balance. That number is still the same, which the city council could say, well, this other $1 million, we want to put that back to fund balance reserve, or we want to use it for capital outlay or improvements. There's no new positions. More than $60,000 is redirected to employee safety initiatives, continued funding for development of new comprehensive plan, continued growth in the event center activities, major capital equipment, replacement of fire apparatuses, the replacement of heavy equipment for public works and park maintenance, and the rehabilitation of Solid waste transfer station, and then a relocation of compost facility and the expansion of the LCID landfill. Let's see. Caller, could you call back? Something's going on with the phone there. Not quite sure what that might be my phone tripping or something. Let me see. That may be my phone tripping. Interesting. Okay, caller, hello?
Yes.
Can you turn your television down?
Look, I was calling to give a moment. I want to ask you to highlight those public hearings for the school. Tomorrow night is the first one at 6 o'clock out at North Edgecombe High School.
You just did it.
Beg pardon?
I said you just did it.
Okay, well, tomorrow night at 6. And I understand that the school system overall had a very successful year. The kids that was, I guess, sent into the system seem to have success as well. So I think it's better than what a lot.
And you're going out there.
And we working on something right now for your day. Right now we're looking at the date of July the 12th, Saturday, July the 12th. But we'll be getting back with you to share some more details as relate to that. But you're not forgotten. We thank you and Reverend Walker and for his outlet to keep the community informed. So people may not respond, but they can't say they didn't have the opportunity to know. Thank you, sir.
Gotcha. Thank you. Let me see if I can. Is this extended or no? Or no? Or no? Let me see. A little bit. Not sure what's going on there. Let me go check one thing, and I'll let you look at this. Yeah, it wasn't extended, so there you go. I'm just going with the television over here, but I'm trying to figure out why is this showing up like so. Because I'm almost certain. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't even have time to keep on messing with that to get back on television. Well, okay, it finally closed. So maybe we can get this extended real quick, break back into the regular scheduled programming. If we can, but that's on your screen there, you'll see, let me move this way. That's proposed utility situations as well. Oh, I see. Okay, so I think we figured that one out. So yeah, so you was talking about the new anticipated revenue. Hey, caller, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bronson.
Good morning.
In your reading, the word consideration, what does that mean?
A vote.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Learned something new today.
Okay.
And did they have any considerations to complete the old projects that they have started?
I'm not sure. I guess it'd be trying to figure, I guess, pinpointing what old project it would be and then kind of asking for an update on that and where the city is on whatever one you might be referring to. So I'm not sure.
Okay. And then, did they have any considerations for demolition of this house over on Discovery Street?
The burned down house.
Yes,
Is that right?
Sir.
Yeah. And I saw one on Church Street not too long ago. It was right around the corner of Church. I don't know, but I do know that those houses that are fire structurally damaged supposed to be on the top of the list for demolition. But I forget what they fund that on an annual basis. But my understanding is they don't fund it enough to be able to deal with the number of houses that are there. And I'm assuming that these individuals who have these houses are uninsured, so therefore they're not having the money to do it. So of course, if the city do it and put a lien on the property and try to recover it upon the transfer or sale of the said property. So I'm not
Why
sure.
would it make sense for them to go in and do the eminent domain for those particular properties?
So it has to be for a public purpose. And so I was talking to someone about, and that's kind of vague, right? But so here's where some cities kind of get involved in a couple of things. They will do an eminent domain of something, and then it'll come for the use of a private developer. So eminent domains, my understanding of it, and again, I'll even do some more digging and diving on it, is that when you take something from somebody, it has to serve a public purpose. I.e., when you take land from people to build a road, the public is using that land. But you cannot take land from someone and build a private business in which the public may engage in, but it's actually a private opportunity for person's net benefit and not a collective community. But if I was to take land and put some new solar powers on it because it's a city-owned situation, we got to reduce the whatever, then that may do it. So sometimes people go into eminent domain situations and end up not eminent domain happening and ultimately reaches some kind of settlement that was higher than what the industry talked about. So I don't know what the purpose of the city's eminent domain process is, but I know you just can't go take it just for just any and everything. So it's a process.
Now, the houses that they have listed or the buildings they have listed for eminent domain, is it some of those buildings downtown or is it private structures?
You know, I have not had an opportunity to look at those, but obviously 2 of them is on Northeast Main Street, so that should be right here on the main block of the thing. And in Albemarle, I'm assuming that's close to the event center.
Yeah,
So I believe they were probably residential structures in Albemarle, and the Main Street has to be commercial buildings.
Okay.
Is what I would think. And I hadn't had time to look at it, but I was just seeing on the agenda just then.
So are you going to the meeting tonight?
That is my thought process to go.
Do you feel like presenting a petition to ask the questions that I asked?
In regards to
the
finishing projects?
House, finishing projects and the house that's burned down on Discovery Street.
Okay.
Because they have been on the book for so long, and I just don't understand why they keep coming up with new things and not completing the things they already have in place. And I think not only I wonder why, but probably more people. But it is a concern of mine. Mm-hmm. And isn't today the day that they start with those grants for people who are interested in them?
I'm not sure what grants you're referring to.
The urgent repair grants and
all
those
the housing repair, and those.
But I think they start today for those people who are interested in them. But I do like to know exactly when they're going to get this house torn down over here on Discovery Street, because it's infested with rats, and I think that's where the bed of rats is coming from in this neighborhood. And probably if you get rid of that, you can stop some of this infestation of rodents over here. But anyway, maybe when they come in and develop something downtown, they'll think it's important enough to get rid of these darn rats, because they are destructive and they are smart. They are not like rats used to be. Seem like they sort of intelligent now. It takes a mountain of knowledge to try to get rid of them, and one person alone just can't fight the battle. Mm-hmm. So I'm sick of it. But that's my spiel for today.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
And what I did, I kind of Googled eminent domain real quick so I can kind of do a quick conversation piece with those who are tuning in right now. So, eminent domain, North Carolina laws and compensation. It says eminent domain in North Carolina involves the government's authority to acquire private property for public use, a practice that raises significant legal and ethical considerations. Understanding how this power is applied within the state is crucial as it impacts both property owners and community development. This topic holds a particular importance due to the ongoing debate over fair compensation and the criteria used to justify such things. A closer look at these issues reveal the complexities involving balancing individuals' rights and societal needs. And so then this page also goes to the legal framework of eminent domain. The legal framework governing eminent domain in North Carolina is rooted in both the U.S. Constitution and the North Carolina Constitution. The Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution provides the basis of eminent domain, stating that private property cannot be taken for public use without just compensation. This principle is mirrored in Article 1, Section 19 of the North Carolina Constitution, which ensures that no person shall be deprived of property but by the law of the land. The North Carolina General Assembly, the North Carolina General Statutes, particularly Chapter 40A, outlines the procedures and the limitations associated with eminent domain. They also detail the necessity for public purpose, which is crucial in justifying the taking of private property. Public purposes can include infrastructure projects like highways, schools, utilities, reflecting on the state's commitment to ensuring eminent domain serves the community interest. The framework also emphasizes due process. Property owners are entitled to receive notice and have the opportunity to contest the taking in court. This provides a mechanism for property owners to challenge the government's assertion of public use or the adequacy of compensation. The court plays a critical role in interpreting these laws, as seen in cases like the Department of Transportation versus Roe, where issues related to property valuation and owner rights were addressed. Then criteria for exercising eminent domain. The process of exercising eminent domain in North Carolina revolves around the public use and necessity of taking. Public use is a fundamental requirement and subject to the interpretation of the courts. Chapter 14A specifies that property can be acquired for purposes to benefit the public, such as transportation, infrastructure, education purposes, and utilities, ensuring that taking serves legitimate public purpose. The determination of public purpose also involves judicial scrutiny. Courts in North Carolina have played a significant role in defining what constitutes public use. For instance, in the Piedmont Triad Regional Water Authority versus Sumner Hills, the court examined whether the land acquisition for regional water reservoir meets public use requirement, highlighting the judiciary's role in balancing government interests with private property rights. Necessity is another crucial criteria. The government must demonstrate that taking is necessary to achieve public use for which the property is being acquired, to ensure that the government cannot seize more property than is needed to fulfill its obligations. And so then compensation valuation. So again, there are a number of challenges surrounding eminent domain. So again, if the purpose is public, certainly that can be utilized and is a beneficial tool to cities and municipalities, townships and counties and what have you, and state for that matter, and I guess federal government for that matter, if the purpose in which you're taking them can really be defined as public use. And it ultimately goes down to how much money an individual has to fight the legal challenges, unfortunately, the way that it is. And so if they oftentimes run out of money or feel as though the battle is going to be too hard, sometimes they'll revert to some type of said settlement and avoid eminent domain and come to a conclusion that this is the better process, and then those eminent domain processes are stopped, or cities, towns, and states go on through with it, and they deal with it, how they deal with it. But to me, interesting to see that process unfolds. It can be a very simple process, or it can be a very complicated process, depending on the parties involved of the said ownership of properties that are listed on today's agenda. But as it relates to the budget for today, as it relates to the meeting of the day at 7 o'clock, there again, when we looked at that organic growth, you saw about $3.5 million in new revenues coming to the city, as well as the city's anticipating another $2.4 million with a 4% property tax increase. which brings you nearly to $6 million in new revenue. Now, the question, some of that new revenue, they automatically earmarked it for additional spending of merit pay and cost of Nicola. And so, but I heard the concern is how do you return the fund balance to Rocky Mountain's general fund to be close to 8%. And again, that number is a fluid number, as you've heard them say a number of times. And it's fluid because the general fund changes. So it's whatever that balance is, whatever that proposed budget is in that given year is what your 8% number is going to look like or the requirement thereof. And so when you look at, let's go back here to this screen. Good morning to Evelyn Johnson and Reginald Manning. Thank you for tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now. So if you go back to the proposed general fund for this upcoming fiscal year, it's $97,860,470. If you look at 8% of that, you're saying they need a general fund of at least $7,828,000. And so currently they anticipate the general fund to be about $5.5 million, perhaps, maybe. And so there's going to be a $2.3 million delta, I guess would be a deficiency or whatever. And that's another thing I will say. I'm glad that word came out too, deficit. There was and continues to be some conversation that Rocky Mount is in an $11 million deficit, right? Has anybody heard that before? That you're in a $11 million deficit. Which is a deficiency in the amount of money that one has. So you have what you call an operating deficit, in which your expenses exceed your revenues. But, when you think about that you're deficient, essentially you're in the negative, right? So you have no dollars. You are completely in what I consider the red, not just an operation, but in the actual bank account. And so Rocky Mount is nowhere near being in the red. Again, as we showed you at the top of the show, this city, as the original proposed budget, anticipates an additional $3.5 million in revenue without touching almost virtually nothing except for the rates dealing with utilities. Carla, good morning.
I don't think we're in a deficit simply because they continue to buy land, and no lending institute is going to let you borrow it if you're in such deficit. So I would say that's just not something that is true. And then if so, wouldn't the LGC get involved if you're in such a deficit? So I don't think it's true. They'll ever buy something. So
Right.
I just don't see it. I really and truly don't.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and just an operation deficit is what they kind of experienced, but but they're not deficient. They're not broke, so to speak. And in fact, what I want to do is go back to the city website here, and I think on the main page we can see the proposed budget right down the main page, which is great that is there. And let's see if this is the right document or not. Maybe. Been seeing so many of these things. Yep, right here. So this is it. This is the right document. Let me, if I can get it. There we go. So this document, again, this is inside the budget document. It talks about the review of the fiscal condition. It says, as reported by auditors and published by annual comprehensive financial report, fiscal year 2024, the city experienced significant use of fund balance and reserves. This created a challenge for the general fund. It is also a total fund balance available for the appropriation of 18% of the fiscal year 2025 adopted budget, and unassigned fund balance available 6% with the fiscal year 2025 adopted budget are noticeably below the city's adopted policies, as well as lower than our peer jurisdictions that provide similar services. The city utility enterprise fund, electric, gas, water, and stormwater also have experienced significant reductions in reserves, categorized as net position. These reasons identified for the significant utilization of reserves in recent years, especially in fiscal year 2024, fiscal year 2024, are relatively consistent across the impact of funds, which include the following: increase in employment compensation, wages, salaries, and benefits resulting from the implementation of the new classification compensation plan, because we ain't got no comprehensive plan, in July of 2023, which exceeded cost estimates. The increase of funding for capital projects, including rehabilitation of existing city facilities, replacement of heavy equipment, and rolling stock, rehabilitation of utility infrastructure, and resurfacing transportation systems, and the increase of operating expenses influenced by inflation and other economic pressures. The city most quickly and effectively responds to these challenges with respect to our current fiscal conditions, which require not only reducing the use of general fund reserve, but also implementing a plan in accordance with our internal policies to rebuild our unassigned fund balance. Over the next few years, it will be imperative for us to monitor our net position closely. Further reductions in our unassigned fund balance could impact our credit worthiness and put us in a place where we are less flexible during emergencies. And so it seems to me that the city manager said this is a priority. When you got, I don't know if they got a AAA rating or not for credit, but they got some kind of rating, AA minus or whatever it is, got a pretty good credit rating. But again, the audited fund balances for the general fund categories, when you look at non-spendable, restricted, assigned, and unassigned. At the end of fiscal year 2023, there was about $63 million in total fund balance. At the end of fiscal year 2024, there was a total of $48 million in unassigned fund balance, resulting in a reduction of fund balance by $15.1 million in one fiscal cycle. It's a lot of money. I will say that. That is a lot of money. But I do believe that a great much of the unassigned fund balance, which is not highlighted in this, because again, when you look at it, it says it was, well, I guess it says increased funding for capital projects. Okay, yeah. Increased funding for capital projects. So looking at this, it's, there was some capital projects that we are, aware of. There was and continues to be the purchase of property around the event center area. If you remember, Tri-Faith Church was purchased by the city. There were a number of other things that were purchased by the city in the 336 land. And so there's other property acquisition going around downtown area. Then there was property acquisition. Don't know what money was used to purchase on the Atlantic Avenue area as where Taste of Paradise used to be. There were a number of property acquisition that was going on. I think then there was some utility costs associated with it. And so a lot of those items that I can remember we kind of went through one day on television. They were some one-time expenditures, the utilization of fund balance. And so here's the thing. There's been a large conversation about, misinformation being out there, whatever it was. I don't think that, and I'm going to use this word that I hear all the time, former administration giving misinformation. I really don't think that I was, when previous administration gave information, do we have the money? Yeah, we got $18 million sitting in fund balance. Because I know they don't think that, a city manager or financial staff just gets money out of a tree or something, right? And so when the city manager and management staff said you have the money to do these things, obviously it had to come out of fund balance, right? Because you're doing unbudgeted expenditures. Let's go down to budgets 101 with this whole process. Budget 101 would say that you have a budget, you budgeted your income projections and your expenses projections. And then when you do something outside of that budget, normally you would have to go into a credit card, a loan, or your savings account, i.e. the city's savings account. We call it the fund balance. And so when you say, hey, I want to pull $1.4 million to buy this building, am I borrowing the money? No, but we got the money. Where's it coming from? It got to come from your fund balance. Oh, there's $1.4 million for a church. And then whatever costs associated with it. Then you say, hey, I want to buy some land out on about Old Carriage Road, 33, now called 336. Are we going to finance it? Yeah, because it's $17 million total, so we can't, and we buying it different parcels, But we're going to need about $2 million or $1.5 million to get it started. Where's it come from? It got to come from fund balance. Okay, gotcha. And then let's also remember that the budget in previous administration, using that word again, when you approved the budget, it said the appropriation of anticipated use of fund balance dollars. It gave that number, and I don't remember what that number was, but it was there. I want to say it was somewhere around 5.6 million or 4.6 million. Seemed like it had a 6 in it. So you knew those dollars were there. So again, I think sometimes people get convenient amnesia. It is what it is. But the spending of dollars is a direct reflection of how our current elected officials chose to spend dollars and not have robust discussion about whatever it is they're doing. How does this impact our policy? And, as one word was used, water on the bridge, you can't cry on spoiled milk. I think going forward, it is, hey, when you look at doing unbudgeted, and here's the other piece, and I remember this so vividly. In Durham, North Carolina, at the retreat, conversation was had that you've got to start thinking about how you utilize your monies, and when you're using fund balance appropriation, that you're not using fund balance appropriation for ongoing expenditures, but more or less for one-time expenses. So you buy it and you're done with it, because when you start using fund balance to fund things that has a cost next year, and you're not picking up that money elsewhere, you're going to start having a deficiency within your net operating revenue. Now, this is a conversation I remember. And in fact, it's going to be gone offline. No, it's on YouTube probably, so it'll still be there. But this is a conversation that I remember being had during what is called the previous administration, and letting members of council understand, listen, you really got to start thinking about how you're funding projects and how you're doing this and what would you look at it for that. So, but I say all that to say that you have non-spendable, restricted, assigned, and an unassigned fund balance. And that is a number you got to kind of deal with about how to get back to where you were. And I'm almost certain that the unassigned fund balance amount, why it was so grandiose, and so we'll go back and look at that prior to that. But you also got to remember that the city received $11 million in COVID dollars that had to sit somewhere, right? And so, and that money had to be spent. And so, I think we got to kind of look at the total picture of those things. And obviously don't have time to do today. It's 9:30. I definitely got to go. But anyway, we'll talk more. Good morning to all of y'all. Thank you for tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now. And remember that now with new Facebook policies, Facebook videos will be deleted after 30 days of their coming on. But tonight, a city council meeting at 7. I think there's a committee as a whole meeting at either at 4 or 5. You can definitely sign to speak on the budget if you so choose to. It looks like I've been commissioned by Alice Davis to speak about something on tonight. But anyway, If the Lord say the same, I'll be at the city council meeting tonight to talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. Don't forget Pop's Diner from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. right here in Rocky Mount, North Carolina.